right, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Calgary Stampeder Facebook chat. I'm really glad you're with us here today, and we've got a lot of things to talk about, so I'd love to hear from you. By all means, load up our line with questions and comments and things to send in as we'll preview a season that is not that far away. You can see below the dates of the different events that are coming up, and it is not that far away, is it, when you add it up? I mean, training camp is just around the corner, the draft is just around the corner, so there is a lot happening in a very short period of time. So yeah, take a look at that, and obviously we can get into discussing some things that are going on. I'm just going to put a note here that just says, feel free to leave a comment. And we'll start looking at your comments as you send them in to us. It's a Facebook Live chat. Pretty much anything is on the agenda today when it comes to the Stampeders and what is going on or potentially going on in 2023. So let's fire it up. Are we live? I think we are live. Yes, we are live. So let her rip with the different comments and questions. Well, let's get to it as far as the big issues that I see as far as a training camp is concerned, the things I'll be watching most carefully here. And what I see coming into camp, two things. Number one is Jake Maier and his progress. I'm comfortable and confident he's going to make progress, but you know what? He's got to make the progress. We can't talk about it. So let's just see how he does. Obviously, this is his team, his time. He's being paid to be the number one guy, and, let's just see how he does. But it is going to be a question until he nails everything down. Number two that I see is going to be the middle linebacker position. What's going on there? I don't know. Is it going to be Silas Stewart that takes over that position? Possibly, but I'm not going to say he can't. He did have some time last year. The team also signed the far more experienced Micah Awe. Good evening, and yeah, welcome. Leave your comments and questions. Let's let it rip. Thank you very much, Jordan. And just tell us where you're listening, where are you watching? Are you a season ticket holder? How long have you been a fan? Let's hear from you and tell us what's going on. So right off the bat, those are a couple of my comments and thoughts on what is going on. And I'm going to hit refresh here and just see if there's any more comments that have made their way in. So your comments and questions and input certainly welcome as we approach the 2023 season. Just got to get this baby in gear. Not that hard, is it? No, it's not. Okay, thank you very much. And, taking a look at what has gone on in the offseason. I mentioned Micah Awe. He's one of a series of people that's been added to the roster this offseason. Among the others that were added, or returning, I guess the word is, James Vaughters. Mike Moore, defensive line they got from Montreal. Him I like. I got to see how he fits into the mix. Jamal Campbell, a lineman from Saskatchewan, offensive lineman, and sort of their big dive into the free agent market, Julian Hauser. He's the guy from Hamilton. He'll sort of take over Sean Lemon's position, so let's wait and see what happens there. Another guy's not a CFL player, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Ryson John. Okay, I see a lot of talent on the team, but many questionable offensive calls this past season. What do you think DD can improve upon? Well, I don't know. They did score an awful lot of points last year. He wasn't perfect, but, between Bo Levi Mitchell for the first half of the season, Jake Maier for the second half, and, the quarterback coaching of Dave Dickinson, I think they were pretty good. They had a bare minimum of sacks. They had the league's leading rusher. I guess the only thing I would say is maybe a more sustained deep threat. Malik Henry was on and off the roster a bit last year. I think he'll be the guy, But I see them as having a pretty well-rounded offense, to tell you the truth. Derek Dennis is back at left tackle. Right tackle's up in the air. That's the one thing that I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go. Does it go to Coker, who was here last year? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I guess that is a possibility. Thank you for the question. Just let us know if you're a season ticket holder or a fan, or where you're writing us or calling us from. Actually, not calling, or texting from. Love to hear from you. Been here third season as a season ticket holder. Been a fan since my mother found out she was pregnant with me. Ha. Okay. All right, that's the way it goes. So those are some of the players that have been added. Among players that were Stampeders and re-signed, I mentioned Silas Stewart. middle linebacker, Derek Dennis. Let's not forget Jonathan Moxey is back, and him along with Trey Roberson, I think, are going to form the corners. But who's which corner? I don't know at that time. That'll be something to watch and see. Cam Judge is back. I think that was huge. I thought he was fantastic last year, and he'll help out at that middle linebacker spot on the weak side there. And also, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that Zach Williams has stayed. He's an offensive lineman. Doesn't say a whole heck of a lot, but they have great plans for him. Left guard, I think you're going to see big things from him. Well, there's big things last year from him. I think you're going to see even more because the Stampeders wanted him. I know if he had hit the market, the hometown Blue Bombers were drooling over the possibility of getting him, and why wouldn't they? So he's a very good player, and he's going to be on the roster and have a prominent spot. Fire it up, send me a comment. Hit the refresh button, so welcome to a couple more comments. Of course, we did touch on it. The players the team has lost this offseason, several of them in no particular order, but Jameer Thurman goes to Hamilton, Sean Lemon to BC, Javian Elliott goes to the Tiger Cats. So does Fraser Sopik. Sean Bain goes to Saskatchewan, as did Stefan Banks on the defensive line. And Flo Ormalad goes to Toronto. So, there are some big holes there to fill. I can't dispute that. There's going to be some battles at camp as some of those players move on. So, on balance, I would say they did a pretty good job of keeping players in camp and keeping players under contract. The guy I am most looking forward to seeing, among others, but right as of this minute, the guy I want to see is Ryson John. Yeah, Ryson John. 6'7" receiver. They drafted him in 2020. Had little time in the NFL. Actually played a game for the New York Giants, but he had an injury settlement. Just hasn't got on the field, so the Stamps have him. He's very unique, and when I mentioned 6'7", he's right now 250 pounds. Can he slim down, be a more conventional receiver? Is he sort of a blocking back / tight end? That's a rare position in the CFL, but maybe that's the guy they have to go with. So I'm looking forward to seeing him and seeing how he fits in. Truthfully, this moment, I don't think the Stampeders know exactly what they've got, so they'll watch him very carefully. Where's KJ, the receiver, right now? Kamar is a free agent. He's not coming back here. At age 34 and 9 years here, maybe it was time. I certainly wish only the best for Kamar, but I do understand the organization, has to inevitably move on. Might have missed it. What do you see Calgary doing in the draft? Glad you asked. I was at the Combine, I guess 3 weeks ago now in Edmonton. This looks to be a very defensive lineman draft and defensive backs. There are some good players there that I liked and stood out. Remember, the Stampeders will draft fourth. That's because they flipped the first pick with Hamilton in the Bo Levi Mitchell trade. So just so you know about that. What do you see Calgary doing in the draft at 4? I saw a defensive lineman, Bemi, from Southern Utah via Montreal, that I think was really good. Is he a guy that might be available around their spot? Yeah, I think so. So that's one guy that I would, possibly see that they look at. But plenty can happen. Not everybody that is at the CFL draft, doing in the Combine at least, was on the field. The guys just did interviews. Defensive lineman Bemi from Southern Utah. That's some of the things that are going on. I think was really. Feel free to leave a comment. Love to hear from you and fire up what is going on and take a look at what the Stampeders are doing. So this is our Facebook Live chat. Possibly see that they look at. But plenty can happen. Feel free to leave a comment. We are talking football. Let's fire up what is going on and take a look at what the Stampeders are doing. This is our Facebook change. It just happens. Possibly see that a lot of talent this offseason. I think that Julian Hauser and Mike Wilson are great additions. Worried about the offensive side of the ball. I feel Malik will continue the ball. Malik Henry, Kadeem will be a beast. And does this team have what it takes to make a break? I think that Julian House and Mike Moore would be a great addition. I'll just lay this on the line to you. Offensive side of the ball. Last year, the Stampeders has been out in the first round the last 3 years. Kadeem will be a beast, and clearly they have to do that. Want to be better. But I'll say this, last year in the regular season, only one team won more games than them, and that was last year. Remember, both BC and the Stampeders finished with 12 wins. So, is there a Grey Cup appearance? Sure, it's possible. But last year in the regular season, Winnipeg was the team that won more games. That I have a little hesitation. The only negative thing I would say about Winnipeg, they do have a lot of talent. But is there a Grey Cup? They're going to start to make some decisions about aging players, on the line. Hardwick is still very good. Stanley Bryant on the left tackle is very good. Vigneault and Jefferson are getting younger. I'm not saying that they're past their prime or anything, but the day is coming where they're going to have to be replaced. I think they've got enough this year. What they do down the line, I don't think it's something to work on. That's the only thing, and again, I'm not saying anybody, but guys age. Maybe some of them will slow up this year. I don't see it. I see that team with Caleros and the running back situation they've got having a good lineup. But that's just the way I see it right now. They would be the team to beat should the Stampeders, in a situation where they're trying to climb into first place and have a playoff game at McMahon Stadium. Just let me get this going here. It froze on me momentarily. There we go. Too much bandwidth or not enough or something like that. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's the story there. Looking around at other teams in the West, as I mentioned, I would certainly put Winnipeg on top. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will be looking to improve from their record last year. Let's just wait and see what they do. They've addressed their quarterback picture. I'll see if that makes a difference. With Trevor Harris and some of the other moves that they've made. They've got to get some discipline there. They were 6-12. We'll see what they do. The Edmonton Elks, they signed a few players, but their biggest problem, as I see it, is establishing some consistency. I mean, that lineup was constantly in flux last year. It seemed every week there were several new bodies and a constant stream of guys coming in, and I know you got to find the right players, but eventually you got to just coach them up. So maybe Chris Jones, I'll say this, is tenacious and relentless, has found all of his guys. We'll just have to wait and see, because it's a case where the Elks need to build some stability and, win at home. BC's undergone a major change with Nathan Rourke out the door. He has moved on, of course, to the National Football League with Jacksonville. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, right now, it's going to be Vernon Adams' teams to take care of. More comments coming in. Love to hear from you. Fire away and let me know what you think, and some of the comments that maybe you want to talk about and share, and call your friends if they want to come in as well. So love to hear from you there. BC, but I think you've got a fantastic secondary. They are so deep at linebacker. They're able to trade a guy that I really think is good, and that's Williams. They traded him away, so let's just wait and see what happens. And he's a very good player there. So I see BC being very, very good again. I'm going to throw something out here, and you can react to it as you see fit, about Nathan Rourke. Okay, I wish him well with Jacksonville. Okay, but the history, this is generically speaking, of undrafted free agents at those kind of positions making a go of it in the NFL is not very good. They signed another quarterback. They now have 3, including him. Again, I wish him well. I'm not saying he can't do it. But here's what I fear happening. He goes in, has a good, maybe not great training camp. But they say they're going to keep it around. But, cut down time. All of a sudden, everybody's cutting down players. This guy's there, this guy's there. And some scouting director is going to come running into the GM. He's going to say, hey, look at what New Orleans just did. They just let this guy go. Remember, you know what? I don't know what happened over there, but don't you remember we came close to drafting him in the 5th round but a couple of years ago, and our area scout liked him. Maybe if we get him in our system, it'll work. I think we can make a go of it here. And they'll say, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Do you remember that? Let's bring him in. I remember he had a good preseason game against Washington a couple of years ago. Take a look at the film. You know what? We need a little more experience there. Guy doesn't have much more, but let's bring him in. And the rookie from Canada is cast aside. Again, I wish no ill for him. A classy guy, he's done well, but I can't sit here and say that everything is going to go his way. Okay, what's the story on Charleston Hughes? Charleston Hughes is a free agent. He is eligible to sign anywhere. Could he come back? I wouldn't completely rule it out. Excuse me, maybe for a reinforcement down the stretch or something like that. I wouldn't completely rule out Charleston Hughes being here somewhere down the line. They run into injuries, or maybe it just isn't going the way they thought. I think you need a little depth, so I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't guarantee it, but I wouldn't rule it out either. Okay, camp is yet to start. Are there players up at the stadium working out? Yes, there are. The coaches, the ruling is they cannot direct them to do anything. So they just work out there. They're on their own. They run their own drills. So under the collective agreement, I can't remember the exact day, just day before training camp or day of camp, that's the first time they can direct them to do stuff in drills. Obviously, they might walk by and say, hey, how's it going? And all that sort of stuff. But no, they can't direct anything. That's considered an off-season workout. So that's what it is. But yeah, there's players up there that are kicking and doing a few things there. Fire it up if you're online. Really appreciate you being here. Send me a note of where you're viewing from and your prediction on the Stampeders. Is it a 9-9 season? 12-6, somewhere in between. Let me know what you think, and we'll keep reading here. And really glad you're with us. You can see down below the various dates. Things are really ramping up quick. I mean, in a few weeks' time, we'll be at the draft board getting the different players selected. Then they come into rookie camp the following week, and the following week after that, main camp begins. And here's the reality: fans have campaigned to move the Grey Cup up. Well, if you move the Grey Cup up, you got to move everything else up. It's in Hamilton this year. Boy, oh boy, we need a 10th team so bad, don't we? Wow. Need a 10th team so bad to even out the preseason. Look, 2 teams get it every year. This year it's the Stampeders and the Elks to play extraordinarily early. I don't know where you're going to be for the long weekend. I know where I'm going to be, but that's just the way it is. So it's going to be interesting. Good take on Nathan. And again, I know people are going to say, well, Alex Singleton was an undrafted free agent. Yes, I get it. And good luck to him. For those of you who don't know, 3 years, $18 million. What an amazing deal. So it does happen. So I don't want to say never, but it never happens at quarterback. Or almost never happens at quarterback. I mean, even Jeff Garcia had to work his way through. So it does happen. It does happen. But I think there's been an awful lot of hype. And I hope that he gets a chance to get a fair look in Jacksonville's camp. Henry Burris is not there anymore. He was just one of the guys who was kind of pushing for him. No longer with the Jags. So I'm not trying to be negative or pessimistic. I think I'm just trying to be realistic about where it stands with Nathan Rourke. And historically, I know everybody's different. This is what has gone on. So we'll just see what happens there. But as for the quarterbacking here, Jake Bear number 1, Tommy number 2, Tommy Stevens, and then we'll see what happens at number 3. They signed a quarterback, and maybe they'll bring in another one. Not so sure about that. Stampeders will be 15-3. All right, that'll win you first place. So we'll see if the Stampeders are able to do that. That's the quarterback picture as I see it for the Stampeders. I think they're quite prepared to give Tommy Stevens a really good look and see what he does. He showed some flashes last year, but he didn't get on the field a lot. I think we all know that and understand that, and this will be different, but he is different, unique in the sense that he is so big. I can see a Streveler guy like that. I mean, for me, last year, the other quarterback, I forgot to mention his name, Big Litton, a little bit of time in the NFL. One of the most exciting plays and entertaining plays last year was that Tommy Stevens run in that last game against Saskatchewan. Wow. Just took off around the end, 85 yards. I know the end got pinned in, but pretty amazing there. So that's the situation. Gentleman asking about the schedule. Why is Hamilton not coming here? The league has tried to emphasize in-division games, so we get extra games. Saskatchewan comes here twice. For instance, Stamps go to Vancouver twice. I think it's a major failing, and there are other teams that have teams that don't make it there, like Montreal and Edmonton and things like that. So I don't know. I don't know how they came up with it. No, I don't like it either, but that's the way it is. So the Bo Levi to Calgary reunion will have to take place in 2024. Too bad. Just too bad, but that's the way it is. The CFL has decided to go that route of this 18-game season. Fire it up in the line. Send me a comment. Leave me a comment. Love to hear from you, and wait and see. A couple of question marks that are still out there. I have had texts, not here tonight, but in other days. Eli Buka, what's up with him? I'm not sure. Free agent. He's got a thriving business in Calgary, a fitness service. So I wonder if he's going that direction. We'll see. There's still time, but we'll see what happens with that position. So I don't know, but the longer it goes on, the less likely I think it is. Richard Sindani went to the USFXL, or whatever they call it these days, and was let go. I don't know if he comes back or not. I'm going to say a bit of a wait-and-see attitude with him. That's where I see it right now, because, Jalen Philpott has to get on the field, and let's wait and see what happens there. So anyway, those are some of the people that are on the loose right now. And, as we sit here today, I don't think you'll see any CFL experienced players sign. I mean, might be one or two, but the bulk of the signings that you'll see will be, American import prospects. I know the Stampeders and all teams are working hard on the draft to put their board and their list together. That happens May 2nd, and then you'll start to see some of the draft picks and the selection. So that's what's taking place there. We'll have to wait and see. Is Jordan... not sure. Jordan Kamar Jordan's a free agent, and I think it will remain thus. Eventually, like Kamar, but eventually got to turn the page here. So we'll see what happens there. So it's, he had a great career when healthy, but boy, he fought the injury bug a lot. Nonetheless, he set that record, a few years ago in 2018 with that 249-yard game, which is a team record. So wish Kamar only the best. As you can see in the crawl down below, just some of the things that happened to and with the Stamps this year and in prior years. So the Stampeders trying to improve on those various records. You got any other comments? Those are some of my comments here, and hear what you have to say. If you want to drop me something, great. In the next little while, next few weeks, we should have a few more announcements coming up here. What's your take on Dave's first GM and free agency? Pretty good. Again, a lot of these guys were signed before they hit the market. He lost some, but you got to keep guys around too. It's, I listed off several guys they lost, but several guys that they added. So I'm going to say on balance, pretty good. But, they do pay some guys like Reggie Beggleton stuck around and others like that. So there you are. Is Jordan with the Stamps or a free agent? Free agent. He's eligible to be signed by anyone there. So, yeah, that's the story with him. Anything else you got? Those are some of my stories there. I hope you can make it to camp and take a look at what is going on with the team. First preseason game is the 22nd of May. Then the Stampeders will get a quasi bye week before June 1st, their final preseason game in Vancouver, and then they begin the season in Vancouver, with Vancouver coming here on June the 8th. So that's the start to the season. It is really not all that far away. So you wanted the season earlier, you got the season earlier. Wish Kamar, this is what is going on. Going to hang on for a few more minutes here. If you've got something else, by all means, let me know. Looking forward to it. By the way, just want to congratulate, before we go, Greg Peterson, our color analyst. You may or may not be aware, but he is the Booster Club Sportsman of the Year for 2022. That's an award that honors athletic service and excellence in the city. And if you've driven by the Northwest, that tri-field at Shoaldice, it's not all his doing, but he was substantially behind it. and also the dome. That, again, was a project he was substantially involved in. So make no mistake, he had a lot to do with that, and he's being saluted. So we thank him for his contributions, both dating way back to his playing days, even going back to high school, after his playing days, and ever since then he's worked with us in addition to having a law career, a real job. So there you are. Who replaces Sean Lemon? Well, James Vaughter seems to have a hand on that position, and that's the way I see it right now. And or maybe they'll go with Hauser, but my guess is more likely Vaughters. But we'll just see. But those are the two guys that are going to step in there. So anyway, that's where we are. It's Football Talk right here on Facebook, and really glad that many of you took the time to join us. I hope we can do another one of these another day and answer your questions and just talk about what is going on. By all means, on any of our social media posts, you can see them in the upper left, Mark on Football on Twitter, and the YouTube page. By all means, feel free to drop a note when you have something you want to talk about. Anyway, that's where we are. It's preseason football just around the corner. This has been our Facebook Live chat. I'm Mark Stephen. Thanks very much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time, and we'll catch up with you and see you at the stadium. Thank you very much tonight.